Tomorrow's your test, so we're gonna review. And this is on your Weebly site if you wanna take a look at it at home. I just came back and I copied it and scanned it for you if you miss anything, but we're gonna go over it right now. All right, the first question, which we did this, you guys, it was the 3rd, October 3rd. This is when we did this worksheet 4.1. How do you graph this? You should be able to do this without a calculator. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we will not have the calculators because the middle school has them for MEP testing. So, which is fine, you don't need a calculator. What we do is we start off with the parent function. Do you remember what the 5 points are for the parent function? Remember what we did? -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And then if you plug these numbers in, you get 4, 1, 0, 1, and 4. Remember this? Then, what is the first transformation? This is the first thing you're gonna do right here.
X plus 3.
You're gonna take the x values and you're gonna add 3 to them. It's the opposite of what you have here. So if you split this column up, I need for you right now to take these x values and add 3. So ignoring these y values, if you added 3, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Keep the y values the same, right? Next thing, what do? You go out here.
Times -4.
You take the y values and you multiply them by -4. What that will do is it'll flip it over the x-axis for you and it'll vertically stretch it by a factor of 4. Now some of these are off the page, but that's okay. So if you multiply the y value by -4, what do you get? -16.
-4, 0, -4, 16.
Okay, what do you do with the x's?
Still.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then what do? The last thing.
Y plus 2.
Take these y values and add 2 to them. And what do you get?
-14, -2, 2, -14.
Add 2. Add 2. And you should see a pattern. Do you see a little pattern there?
Yep.
What do you do with the x's? They stay the same. So if you plot these points, over 1 down 14, over 1 down 14 is off the page, so we're just gonna pretend like we see it. Over 2, down 2, over 3, up 2, right? Over 4, down 2, and over 5, down 14. So I want 5 points. I should go over a little bit more. I want 5 points. Do I have 5 points? And on your test tomorrow, you'll have enough room. You should put arrows at the end.
The test is tomorrow.
Tomorrow's your test. We're not doing a partner test. We talked about that. We don't have time. We're testing tomorrow. All the Algebra 2 teachers are testing tomorrow. So we just didn't have enough days because you guys didn't have class Thursday. So that just messed us up. All right, let's fill in our T-chart, our little chart of items here. What is our vertex?
3,
3, 2. Does it match our chart and does it match our graph? Yep, sure does. What is our axis of symmetry?
3.
If you say 3, I'm gonna mark it half wrong. If you say x is 3, I'm gonna give you full credit. Now, what's the shape of this? This is going upside down, right?
Yes.
So our vertex is our maximum value. How do you know where the graph hits the y-axis? What do? You plug a 0 in for x, and you solve for y.
That's what it is.
So if x is 0, 0 minus 3 is -3, -3 squared is 9, 9 times -4 is -36, plus 2 is -34. What did we say our domain is all the time here? All real numbers. And how do you find the range? Remember something about the y value of the vertex. If it's going upside down, it's gonna be less than or equal to, and then 2. If it were up, then it would be greater than or equal to 2. Okay, is everyone cool with that? You'll be able to fill in the chart for me. Now, how will you study this question tonight? Review it. What I suggest you do is put a sheet of paper over this question and try to do it on your own without any help. And then if you run into some problems, then you should look at your paper. Take your paper off. Okay, let's do B. Quickly, y equals x squared. What do you do? So you have 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. What's our first move? Take your x value and subtract 4, because you're shifting it 4 units left. Okay? So if you subtracted 4 to all these x values, can you tell me what numbers you get?
-6, -5,
Good. Now, what do you do with the y values?
-0.
You leave them. Next, what do you do?
Y times half.
You take all the y values and you multiply them by a half. Okay, so I put my finger over them, over the x values, so I don't get confused. So multiply these all by a half, you get 2, a half, 0, a half, and 2. Keep the x's. And then, last but not least, what you do?
Y minus 2.
You take the y value and bring them down 2. If you subtracted 2, you get a 0 here, and you would get a 0 here. If you subtract 2, you get -1.5 here, -1.5 here, and this becomes a -2. What happens to the x's? Yep, stays the same. So let's graph them. Over 6, up 0. Over 5, down 1.5. Over 4, down 2. And we have that lovely picture. If we want more, we can put some numbers in our T-chart. That's a good enough graph. And what are our items here? What's our vertex? Oops. -4, -2. Check it out. Did it match? Yes. X equals -4. This is a minimum because it's U-shaped like that. Our y-intercept, where is this thing hitting the y-axis? If you put a 0 here, 0 plus 4 is 4, 4 squared is 16, half of 16 is 8, and what's 8 minus 2?
6.
So 0, 6, what we could do now is plot 0, 6, and we have our axis of symmetry we didn't plot, but we can go 4 units the other way. So 4 units, 1, 2, did I do 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why it looks awkward, but that's what it looks like. Okay? Next, how do you take a picture, a graph, and write in vertex form the graph, the equation, the rule of this? Well, we start with our recipe. Here's our recipe. So you pull out a recipe, and that's what it is. What do we need? We need this vertex. I need the name of this vertex. -1, -3. Where does -1 and -3 go here? H and K. So it's the opposite. This is H and that's K. So it's going to be x plus 1 when we plug it in, and then -3, right? And we need a point. 1, 5 looks like a good point. It has a dot next to it. So I'm going to plug in a 5 for y and a 1 for x. So it's 5 equals some a value times 1, that's the 1, and then plus 1 squared, and then plus -3 or -3. What is your job? What's your job? To find A. What's 1 plus, we have to follow order of operations. 1 plus 1 is?
2,
2 squared is?
4,
So this whole thing is really 4A, right? Next, what do you do? Add 3 and then do what? And divide by 4. What's A?
2,
Okay, what do I do with that? Plug it in where? You go back to this formula along with the h and the k. So you have f of x or y, and then put your a value in, and it's x plus 1 squared, and then minus 3. Everyone got that? All right, how do you do the next one? The only thing different about the next one is that there is not a picture, but you have the vertex, the h and the k, and you have a point that it passes through, the x and the y, -2 and -5. So you're going to start with y equals a x minus h squared plus k. So what is our y value? -5. -5 equals some a value that we're about to find, and then -2, right? And then plus 3, thank you. Why plus 3? Because it's the opposite of -3. And then k is 7. Okay, what should you do first? Add these up. You get 1. 1 squared is 1. You have 1a plus 7 is equal to -5. Subtract 7, and a is -12. So your equation should be f of x. The a value goes in front, and then put your vertex in. X plus 3 squared plus 7. Done. How do you rewrite? How do you go from vertex form to standard form? All you do is square this. How do you square x minus 3 squared? It's x minus 3 times x minus 3, which you can do that in your head. You can square it, combine your middle terms, and now, so x minus 3 squared is x squared minus 6x plus 9. What do you do with the 6? And what do you do with the minus 4? You're going to distribute the 6. And then add like terms. So what's your final answer here? 6x squared minus 36x plus 50. Is everyone okay with that? Going from vertex form to standard form. You have to square that binomial, distribute the a value, and then add that constant that's by itself. Questions? Number 5. How do you identify the vertex or any of these items, the axis of symmetry, the max and the min, the range, the domain, and sketching it, the y-intercept? This is standard form. There's 2 nice things about standard form. This a value, if it's positive, what do you know about it? The graph is going up. If it's going up, our vertex is a minimum. Okay, what other thing do you know right away about it? What's that number right there? That is your y-intercept, 0, 4. And we also know the domain we said is always all real numbers, because you can square any number, not a problem. How do you find the vertex? Do you remember the little formula? Negative b over 2a, remember that? So it's opposite of 18 over 2 times 3. So what's negative 18 over 6? Your axis of symmetry is x is equal to -3. Everyone okay with that? So how do you find the vertex? It's going to be -3 something. How do you find the something? You plug that in here. So can you do this? So 3 times -3 squared plus 18 times -3 plus 4. Tell me what you get.
-76.
What'd you get?
I didn't have -76. Oh, that's probably because I did -27.
It's negative 23, negative 3, negative 23, which you guys is off the page. So we're gonna do the best we can. How do you write the range then? Since it's going up and the lowest number is negative 23, our range is gonna be greater than or equal to. Yep. Now, let's plot what we can. We know our axis of symmetry is negative 3. Let's see how we can handle this. Seeing it's off the page. Okay, that's our axis of symmetry. And we know 0, 4 is our y-intercept. Can we do another point? Huh? Go 4 units the other way. Or 3, I'm sorry. Wait.
Yeah.
1, 3. Because I can't see. There. Now, our vertex is way down here. Way down here. Somewhere there's, we're going to pretend like that's negative 3. I'll call negative 3, negative 23. What am I going to do? I only have 3 points. And tomorrow your test will be, it'll be on the page. It won't be anything crazy like that. What should I do now? How do I figure out some more points?
Plug a number in for X.
What kind of number would you pick?
9.
Would you pick 4? No, you're gonna stick around here. I would do negative 1 or negative 2. What do you like? I like negative 1. Negative 1, what do we do? We're gonna plug negative 1 right here. What is negative 1 squared? 1. What's 1 times 3? Remember, we're putting negative 1 in. What's 18 times negative 1?
Negative 18.
And then plus 4. This gives us negative 15. And what's negative 15 plus
Negative
4?
11.
Is negative 11, right? So over 1 down 11, which is right here, and then you can go 11 that way. And if you wanted to do another point, you could. Go for it. I want 5, and I have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Next one. Okay, so out of these items, what do we know? Help me out. Max or min, up, down, y-intercept, give me those
Max.
in the domain.
Max.
It's maxed,
Down.
down. Y-intercept,
Negative 10.
yep. What's the domain? All our numbers. Okay, how do you find the vertex?
Negative B for 2A.
Well, b is 6, so it's negative 6 over 2 times negative 1. So what do you get? 3. X is equal to 3. That's your axis of symmetry. How do you find your vertex? 3 what? What do you do? How many of you are going to get this wrong because of order of operations? Like to hear all the different answers you guys got. What do you do?
3 times 3.
3 squared is 9. 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. Then 6 times 3 is 18, and then minus 10. So these two give you 9, and 9 minus 10 is negative 1. How many of you got negative 1? Yay. So 3, negative 1. How will you do the range? Since it's upside down, what are you going to write for the range? Y is less than or equal to negative 1. So let's plot what we have here. Our axis of symmetry is x equals 3, where 3, negative 1 is our vertex. It's upside down. Our y-intercept is negative 10. So can we stick another point opposite right here? And now the other thing you want to do is pick a number. I would pick 1. I would plug a 1 in. Let's do 1. What's 1 squared? What's 1 times negative 1?
Negative 1.
What's 6 times 1?
6.
So I have 5 right now, right? And what's 5 minus 10? Negative 5. So where's negative 5? Right there. And right there. And there's 5 points. And it looks like a lovely graph. Questions, anybody? Is this coming back to you guys? I know you guys had an eventful week and weekend, so. What do you do to convert something from standard form to vertex form? Well, vertex form means we need the vertex. How do you find the vertex?
There's B negative B over
Good, negative b over 2a. What's the b value? It's 4, so it's the opposite of that. Negative 4 over 2 times 2. What's negative 4 over 4?
Negative.
Yep, negative 1. So how do you find the y value then? Remember we need the vertex?
Plug in
You're gonna
X.
plug it in. What's 2 times negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1?
6.
So we've got 1, this becomes a 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And I heard negative what? Whoops. You said negative 6 and I wrote negative 6 there.
That's actually.
You're right. I wrote what you said. It's negative, she's right, it's negative 6. So now, what's the vertex? It's negative 1, negative 6. Can you tell me what the correct equation is? I'll start you off, f of x.
2.
2, how'd you get 2?
In front of that.
You need this a value. Very good, Robert, thank you. A is 2, and then x plus, excellent,
Where?
squared, don't forget that, and then,
Minus 6.
great, you got it. Okay, next, factoring. How do you factor these? What's this one called? Always check to see if you can take something out. Is there a common number or letter out of 4x and, no, I don't see anything common.
No.
No.
Perfect.
But this is the difference of, remember this, 2x times 2x?
Perfect square.
Yeah, how does this one factor?
2x.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
2x.
2x plus 5. Does it matter where the plus and the minus go? No, as long as you have one of each. Okay, there'll be one of those. You gotta find it. How about this number 7? What, do you remember what this one's called? This is a perfect square, and this is a perfect square with a plus sign, and the product of one of each of these times 2 gives you the middle term. You remember what you get here? 3x minus 1, 3x minus 1. It kind of reminds me of this one, but it's both of these signs will be that one. Is there a shorter way to write this answer?
3x minus 1 squared.
Yep, 3x minus 1 squared. Next one, number 8. Which kind is this? It's a polynomial with, it's a trinomial with a 1 in front. Remember how to do this one?
X. Minus 7.
Mm-hmm.
Minus 3.
Yep. Beautiful. What times what is 21 but adds to be negative 10? Hmm?
What did you say?
What times what is 21?
7 times 3.
And he adds to be negative 10. Okay, this next one is a trick question. It's not factorable. This one was either, you could have thought this was a perfect square trinomial, so 2x times 2x and 3 times 3, but it doesn't work. And if you use the AC method, 4 times 9 is 36. What two numbers multiply to give you 36 but add to be 21? There is nothing. So this one's not factorable, it's prime. There's nothing that works. How about 10? This one is factorable.
2x plus 7.
Now, I would guess and check on this one, because there's not very many numbers that multiply to give you 2x. As a matter of fact, it's just 2x and 1x. And what are you gonna put for 7? I'm gonna put a 7 here and a 1 here.
Plus 7.
Plus, they're both pluses. You don't have very many choices. You wanna multiply the outer and the inners and add them together, you get 9x. And that wasn't very hard. Now, what do you do for these ones where it's got an equal to sign? What do you do for 11 and 12? You will first make sure they're set equal to 0, and then what you're gonna do is factor them like you did above, and then you set each of these products equal to 0. So 2x minus 7 equals 0, so x is 7 halves. And 2x plus 7 equals 0, subtract 7 divided by 2, you get negative 7 halves. Okay? Number 12, what should I do?
Subtract 6.
Subtract 6. Then what?
Factor.
Let's do the AC method. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. What two numbers multiply to give you negative 30 but add to be 7?
10 and 3.
Mm-hmm. So you're gonna rename 7x as 10x minus 3x. That adds to be 7x. And they 10 times negative 3 is negative 30. So now factor by grouping. Take out what's common. What's common here?
5.
5 what?
X.
X. You're left with x plus 2. Then this one, take out a negative 3. You're left with x plus 2. Now factor x plus 2, and you're left with 5x minus 3. Now what are my two answers now? Now that I've factored it completely?
3 over 5 and negative
Good. 3/5 and negative 2. So put those on the line. Negative 2 and 3/5. Questions? Okay, number 13, change 3x to a 1. That was a typo. That was a typo. So you should have 2x squared minus 1x. What should you do now?
Subtract
2.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you factor this one in your head? Let's try it. There's not many numbers that multiply to give you 15. Let's try 3 and 5. That's gonna give you 10, and 3, that doesn't work. So really, we wanna switch the 3 and the 5. Let's see if that works. Put a 5 here and a 3 here. If I multiply these two out, you get 6 and 5. If I subtract them, I get my 1. So I'm gonna make this a negative and that a positive, because that's gonna give me negative 6x plus 5x is my negative 1x. What are my two answers?
negative 5
And?
as 3.
And 3. Questions? And 14 is the easiest of the group. It's already set equal to 0. What do I do? What are my two answers?
1/3.
1/3 and what else?
5.
What if this was not a 0? What would you do?
Subtract that.
You'd have to FOIL. You'd have to FOIL this and bring that number
I don't
over.
know why I did.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
She factored it. Let me guess. You factored it.
I still got the same answer.
I know, you just
I
went-
factored it. and
It's like
then
you went in a
pretty much-
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right, you learned, you figured it out. Number 15. It says, the width of a rectangle is 5 centimeters shorter than its length. So here's our width, right here. This is our width. It's 5 centimeters shorter than the length. Here's our length. So if we don't know what the length is, we don't know what that is, we know that this is what? It's question mark, whatever it is, we're gonna take 5 away from that, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So instead of a question mark, can we use x? So we're gonna call this x, and this is gonna be x minus 5. Are we cool with that? We talk about the area. The area is the space that fills up this rectangle. What is the formula for area?
Basically,
It's length times width. So if we multiply them together, and you set it equal to the length, the area is 36, what would we do? Like I told you up here, if you don't have a 0 here, what do you do? This is like an example of that. What are we gonna do?
distribute 30.
Huh?
Distribute first.
Distribute first, good. Distribute. What is x times x?
X squared.
And then you want, if you want to bring that over all in one shot, that's cool. Next, what do? I need to solve this. So I'm gonna want to factor it. How do I factor this? What numbers do I put here? I need the product of negative 36, but the sum to be negative 5. What times what is negative 36 but adds to be negative 5? No one knows?
4 and negative 9.
Plus 9 minus 4.
Plus 5,
9.
9, and minus 4. Let's see, does that work?
No, be minus.
Does this work? We get a negative 4 and 9, that gives me a positive 5. So what's wrong with this?
Need a
Negative
five.
9.
Should be a negative 9
That's four.
and a positive 4. That works. So what are my solutions?
X equals 9 and x equals -4.
Okay, so we're saying that we have two answers for this problem. But can you have, if I use negative 4 for my, can I say my rectangle is negative 4 centimeters long? It's an object and you don't have a negative dimension. Okay, so what do you do with that negative 4? You just throw it out. And you're gonna stick with 9. So your rectangle is 9 by, what's 9 minus 5?
Four.
It's a 9 by 4 rectangle. Let's read the question. It says, if the area is 36 centimeters, what is its length? How will you answer this question? How will you answer what the length is?
Nine.
It's 9. If I say, what's your favorite color? You're gonna tell me your favorite color. You're not gonna say, I like red and pizza. I didn't ask you something else. Answer the question and label it too. That's one thing I'm trying to practice with you guys, is answering the question. Now, what if I said, what's the length and width? Then you write 9 by 4. So read the question carefully and answer them according to what they're asking you for, okay? Because I'm testing you on if you know what x is. Or I might have said, what's the width? If I would have said, what's the width, you would have done 9 minus 5, which is 4, okay? All right, number 16 is gonna be a bonus. I'm not gonna do it, but there's gonna be a question like it. And if you wanna try to do that, I'm not gonna tell you how to do it. It involves, it's a difficult problem, but you have to draw a picture. And it will be on your test tomorrow, but it's gonna be a bonus. I'm not gonna give it away right now. So for those of you that wanna work a little harder, try that one, see if you can do it, okay?